Welcome to lesson 0.2. Today we're going to talk about a lot. So I'm going to divide this lesson into lots of little videos instead of lots of really big videos. So we're going to start by reviewing functions. So we see a relation is any set of ordered pairs. You can have lots of relationships in math. The one that's very special that we talk about a lot is functions. A function is a very special type of relation. The easiest way to tell if an equation is a function is by the vertical line test. Now, something to understand, if you've heard the little saying before, all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. Kind of same thing with functions. All functions are equations, but not all equations are functions. So we practice that vertical line test to know, and then we'll also talk about domain and range a little bit. So let's start with example number 1. We are trying to figure out whether each equation or relationship is a function. Like I said, easiest way to do this is to imagine graphing. And if we're going to graph, we need to solve for y. So I'm going to solve this first one for y. So I get y equals negative x plus 1. Now if I think about this without needing to graph it, you can graph it on your calculator if you want. This is going to be linear with a -1 slope and go through 1 as a y-intercept. So if we think about that vertical line test, I can draw a vertical line anywhere, and it's only going to pass through the graph once, so this would be a function. Let's try number 2. Provided a nice little graph for you. You can very quickly see I can draw a line, hits the graph twice. So no, this is not a function. This one, y equals negative x squared plus 1. Imagine graphing it. Once again, you can graph it on your calculator if you want. Negative x squared is a downward facing parabola. Plus 1 moves it up 1. So it should look something like that. Go through the vertical line test. Any line I draw is only going to pass that graph once. So, yes, that is a function. Now, this last one is a little funky. So what I want you to do really quickly, pause the video, solve this equation for y, and we'll double check to make sure you got the right answer. Okay, if this is what you got, that is wrong. Reminder, if you're doing roots, your answer is plus and minus. So if we graph this, the positive square root is going to look like that. The negative square root is going to look like that. So together, we've got this sideways parabola, and we can very quickly see that is not going to pass the vertical line test. Now let's do some plugging into functions. These ones are pretty quick and simple. You should hopefully remember these. I am going to have you pause the video and do number 5 and 6. Those should be review. Remember, we're just taking that and then plugging it into the function. So that, plug into the function. Just an input, plug it in. If you want to simplify, you can. You don't have to, though. We'll talk about that more in a sec. Okay, first one should have gotten 29. Just plug 10 into x for the f function and simplify, get 29. G of x plus delta x, we're just plugging all that into x in that function, so we get x plus delta x squared. You can FOIL it out, you don't have to. Now I want to talk about this. On the AP test, you do not need to simplify. And we'll talk about this a lot this year. In fact, they recommend you don't simplify because it's more likely you'll make a mistake as you're simplifying. So seriously, leave it. Don't simplify, even though I know that's your urge. Okay, let's do this one. Function composition. See if you remember this. It's the same thing we were just doing. We are plugging that into G. So we're going to take f of x and plug it into g. So essentially what we're getting is going to be f of x squared, because we plug f of x in for x. Right there. Now I am going to plug in what f of x was. F of x is 3x minus 1. So 3x minus 1 squared. And once again, don't simplify. Fight the urge. Number 8. This is called the fog, but it is the same thing as f of g of x. I prefer writing it this way. I don't like it with the little circle, but you will see it that way. So go ahead, try that one on your own. Plug g of x into the f of x equation, and we'll see what you get. Okay, so you should have gotten that. Once again, you can ask, do I need the parentheses around the x squared? No, you don't. Can you leave them? Absolutely. You don't need to simplify, so you can just leave it like that. So that's the basics, beginnings of function. In the next video, we're going to talk about domain and range for a couple examples.